Espresso lovers, Mark here from Whole Latte Love. I've got Brian with me today. Brian, we're going to unbox a brand new Profitec Pro 500, get that set up real quick. Now we've got another one here already heated up so we can get you making an espresso, maybe a latte or something real quick, so we'll do that, right?
Let's do it.
And first of all, I want to say, so what do you do here at Whole Latte Love?
I am the tech manager. I assist with technical support. I talk with folks that are having issues with startup, general use, anything wrong with the machine on the inside.
And I just want to mention real quick, CoffeeCast, that's where you can get a free one-on-one demo of pretty much any product we carry, so you can schedule one of those on our website if you're interested, so you get a bespoke experience, if you will.
Indeed.
Indeed. But let's get this out of the box. We're going to get a little crazy. We're going to get this off the counter, right?
All right.
Get her down and unpack her, show you what it comes with, and get her going. So first thing we got is the accessory box here. We'll take a look at that in a minute. We'll just get the machine out of here, right?
Beautiful.
I gave you the heavy end.
Good. Who needs a gym, right?
You ready to go?
Let's get the side.
Oh, you want to
here
go
first.
side?
Yep.
Okay, so good
Well,
idea.
a little wiggle room.
A little foam out of there.
Yeah.
And off we go. Let's see when.
Go.
Okay. Oh boy. Yeah, she's a heavy girl.
Heavy? Oh, come on, Mark. Next time you're picking up the heavy end.
Yeah. All right. Now we'll feed this. Get that back there, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Let me get the cord out from under there. There you go. Perfect.
Beautiful.
All right.
Take
Got a
off.
little foam on the steam one there to keep it from scratching up the faceplate in transit. Anything out and over there. All right, cool.
All right. So we'll plug it in over by you. How about that?
Sounds good to me. Pass it on over.
And again, we'll go through what to expect when starting this machine up and how to do that. But let's take a look at the accessories real quick.
Alrighty. What do we got in here, Mark?
Looks like we got the blind filter basket for backflushing. We'll talk more about that. It's got a nice little spot where that can go.
Sweet. All right. Let's cover that up with this guy.
The old drip
Tray
tray.
and grid.
Nice. Sometimes these do come with a laser film on them.
Yep.
This
Not
one is
always.
not.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't.
That slides right in there.
Let's see. Get her out of here.
Little
Toothbrush?
group brush.
Oh, group brush. Okay.
Do a little cleaning.
I've been using it wrong all these years. Uh-oh.
You're on a roll today, huh?
I am. I'm feeling cheeky. All right. So we got double spout portafilter.
That can go right in here, right? Well, we'll leave that off till we.
Yeah, let's leave it off for now.
Yeah, we'll leave it off for now. And a single spout.
Single spout. They're
We'll
making
also-
a change to the bottomless in there too, right?
Yeah, I believe so, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they set us aside one of the older ones here.
Okay.
That's okay. We'll
Okay.
forgive them.
So you might get one of these in there. I got a bottomless right here.
Yep. Exactly.
Like one
I
of these
switched out
guys?
from the getting the double and the single to getting a double and a bottomless portafilter.
Nice. Something we worked with them for a while to make happen, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a tamper here.
Nice.
All right, so step one, we get some water in here. We will talk about water filtration, right, because that's important, but we're going to just get this guy going first.
Yep. The first thing I'm going to do is just pull it out real quick, make sure that my float is in there and that it's moving around. If that float isn't in there and it doesn't float up when the water is in there, then the machine won't think it has any water in it.
And since we'll be filling this, we'll end up wanting to run some water through the group here. You want to make sure that boiler's full, right?
Exactly. If the machine knows that it's full, it's got a liquid level system in it since it's a heat exchange system. So you don't necessarily need to run water through it other than it running through its own fill cycle. However, I like to run water out of the group head once the steam boiler has filled. If you don't do that, then what can happen is you'll hear a little bit of a knocking sound from the heat exchanger being hollow while the machine's heating up. Important thing to do when it's first filling up is look inside the reservoir, keep an eye on your water level, make sure that it's actually going down. If it's not going down, you may have vapor lock in the pump. That's it's not
rarely?
abnormal at all. Yeah, it happens
Yeah.
every once in a while. It's just from the machine being drained. If it doesn't have any water inside the pump, it just kind of gets seized up. It's the old saying, pumps are really good at moving water, not so great at moving air.
Right, right.
So
So you're
this
keeping
one's
an eye
going
on
down,
that.
so we're
We're
good
gonna
on that. Yep, I'm going to
Add
need to
some more. I
fill
got
her
some
up a
more
little
over
bit
there
there.
if you need more.
Mark is my water supplier.
And again, we'll talk more about water filtration, and this is one of the options we have for that. Because it's like one of the most important things you can do for your machine is feed it good water, number one, for flavor, and also to protect from scale, right?
Exactly.
And this is, again, this fill procedures, you only do this the very first time you turn on the machine unless you were to drain it and store it or something.
Exactly, yeah. You'll hear the pump kick on briefly at most startups. Just the liquid level system is regulating itself. You lose a little bit of water during condensation, everything. Evaporation, condensation.
So it's definitely filling.
It's going.
Looking good, and that's just
This one
going to
was nice
keep going until the boiler is full, right? And then
I heard you talking about it.
yeah.
So now it's full, and it's going to start going through the heating process. But like I said, I like to lift the lever and just go ahead. Lift that up and let it run some water through the group. Wait until the water comes out, and I'll give it, like 5 seconds or so. Again, that's just to make sure you got water in the actual heat exchanger while the machine's heating up. If you don't do that, you will hear a little bit of a tapping sound from the machine while it's heating up. You will normally hear a little bit of a rush sound, like a shh, as the boiler's heating up. You can hear a little taps and knock sounds. That's completely normal, especially if you just got this out off the front porch. It's a little cold outside, machine's a little bit colder. A really cold machine heating up quickly is going to make more sounds. So just some things you can expect. Once you get to around 212 degrees, that's where everything starts building pressure inside the boiler. There's a vacuum relief valve inside there that's going to need to shut. And when that happens, you're going to experience a little bit of steam coming out of this little button up the front here, this little discharge. So you'll see a little bit of steam, a couple drops of water, and you'll hear like a little shh.
And then it just stops. And that's a normal, during every heat up, it's going to do that. It's going to create steam in the boiler and close the little valve up there. Right? So that's perfectly normal. We'll talk more about programming of the PID and what's available there. Right? But let's go over, we want to get you drinking coffee right away. So imagine we've jumped 20 minutes into the future, right? 2025 is a typical heat up time for something
if anybody's
like
got that power, it's you, Mark.
So we're going to come over here on the Pro 500 that we have heated up. Now notice this one does have a flow control on it. I've got it set to its, so a run at stock position, which is 1 1/4 turns open. We'll talk some more about that. Over here I've got a Eureka Mignon Libra grinder. Love this grinder. It grinds by weight. So I'm going to just grind up some coffee, and we'll pull a shot over here, right?
Excellent. I'm thirsty anyways.
So I like to start with a dry Porta filter, so we're going to dry that out. And on the lever here, I've got a little dosing funnel. I'm going to set that on there, set this in. And this is a grind by weight grinder, really cool grinder. I'm going to do 17 grams. So it just grinds, and it's going to stop right when it hits 17. You might hear it go a couple times just to get to where it needs to be.
I love grind by weight grinders. All the guesswork out of it.
There's that little extra bump, so it gets it right to the right amount there, and there we are at 17. We'll take this off. I'll give it a little, settle the coffee in there a little bit, swipe it over, and we'll get, you know what, let me use a tamper that came with it here.
There you go.
Okay. There are accessories. This is kind of an accessory tamper. This is also by Profitec, a little heftier than the one that comes with the machine.
I like the one that comes with the machine, honestly.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice, sometimes they're a little loosey-goosey in there. This one's got a nice fit in the stock portafilter.
It's nice, it's shorter too. I like the ones that are shorter.
Get your palm over the top, maybe?
Exactly, yeah.
All right, so lock that in. And I am going to weigh this shot. We're going to do a 1-to-2 ratio, so we're going to do about 34 grams out of here. A little shot pitcher on there, and if I can remember to tear the scale, which I often don't. So I'm using an Akaya lunar scale here. And really, this is a way to pull your shots if you want consistency and know what you're doing. So it tears automatically when I first turn it on, so we're all teared out. And we'll go.
Let it rip.
Now, I could have given this a little flush before I started pulling this shot, which probably wouldn't have been a bad idea. I kind of forgot here.
You've been doing a lot of dual boiler videos, so.
Well, we're looking pretty good.
Yeah, I will say to that effect, the 500 is really good when it comes to whether or not you need a cooling flush. The regulation in there is really well done, so you don't really end up with a huge need for that.
Now you can do that flush to clean off the group a little bit. If this machine were sitting here on for an hour and I hadn't used it at all, I'd probably give it a little flush. They do tend to heat up a little bit. I'm going to take a taste there, and then we'll do another one. A little swirl. Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
Nice.
That really is nice. It's our Crema Wave coffee. Got some right here. As you saw that shot extracting, it lives up to its name and a lot of crema in that.
Absolutely. Very forgiving bean. I love it a lot.
So let's do another one. I left you some milk over there, Brian, and we will make a milk drink, right?
Sounds good to me. Everyone loves watching my wonderful latte art skills. I know.
So again, I do like the Libra grinder here that grinds by weight. Just set it in. And that's all I got to do, because a lot of times, I'm using grinders that don't have this capability. You're going by time, and you don't know for sure exactly what you're getting, so you're going to weigh it anyways.
What am I brewing into here?
We're going to use this insulated glass here.
Those are nice.
So actually, I'm going to go without the scale this time. And I got my 17. So of course, being a heat exchange machine, we can brew and steam simultaneously if we want to.
Absolutely. We'll purge real quick.
So that was pretty good. I'm just going to use the time on this shot, because the last time I dialed in it was 24 seconds for my 1-to-2 ratio. So I'm just going to go to 24 seconds.
Sounds good. And get steaming.
That shot's looking good. How's the milk looking?
I frothed better.
Yeah, there we go. And I did leave you a rag over there, yes? Okay. So always, of course, wipe down your wand, purge your wand, so you get all the milk off of there. Yeah. These are insulated wands as well. Most all machines do have the insulated wands now, unless you're, really low level or something. But I do like those, less condensation and less burn on of milk.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Less to clean off. Make it a little bit easier on yourself, right?
Absolutely.
All right, let's see. I think I went a little light on the milk, but we'll see what happens here. Wow, I just didn't foam anything there.
You got a little bit there.
I did so much better yesterday, but at least it's a nice color, right?
Yeah.
There's a little wisp in there. It's a galaxy.
You take a taste.
It's a galaxy. Tastes good.
Tastes good.
That's the important part.
That's what matters. Like I said, we do have the flow control on this machine, and again, we didn't use it for this, but like if my shot weren't running really fast, I thought, I can try and save it by turning down the flow. We have a lot of great videos on how to use flow control, like if you're using a really fresh coffee or something. But what are some, if you picked up a machine with flow control, what are some things people should know about that? Let me get rid of this.
Well, if you got it with the flow control, as you said from the beginning, setting it to the stock flow rate, 1 1/4 turns open is a great place to start. I suggest leaving it there while you're dialing in, getting comfortable with it in that position, and then exploring from there. Because as we all know, there's a lot of variables in pulling a shot of espresso, and if there's one that you can just set one way and just leave it there for a while until you're more comfortable and you got everything else dialed in, do that. To your point, using it to saving a shot, fantastic. I like when you have a really, really fresh roast. If you're like me, you roast at home, you have something that you just roasted the night before, you want to let off gas a little bit more. You start real gentle pre-infusion, even let it flow for a second, then stop it, and then let it go some more. Really, really helps with bringing out that bean.
Yeah, I'll kind of show what that might be all about. So right now we're closed, right? Yeah. So I pull lever and no water's coming out at all. But then as I open that up, I start to increase the flow. And you can really, one of the things I like about this setup on this machine is just how much control you have
Absolutely.
with that flow control. And then if we went to like so that's like the stock flow right there. You can see, and if you check out some of our videos on that, you'll see that, like a machine like this, it runs about 7-8 grams per second of flow. So you can do all kinds of things like seeing what your flow rate is at a certain valve position and that kind of thing.
What does it look like if you open it all the way, Mark?
Oh, do you want to see? Because
Yeah,
we
I'd
can go
love to
faster.
see.
So if you wanted to
look
do
at
a
that.
really fast flow shot for some reason, you can do that.
Now, like you see the difference in the water, what it's doing there, how it, instead of being a little bit more rain-like,
Yeah.
how it's just gushing out. I asked that question just because we actually get that question a lot in technical support, asking why the water is coming down in more of a centralized location. A lot of times that's exactly what it is. The flow control's all the way open.
All the way open, and generally you don't want to brew with it all the way open.
No.
You
But
know,
by all means, experiment, have fun with it, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, you don't really have it open that far.
I have used like super high flow rates on like really dark roasted coffees and gotten some good results. So all kinds of things you can do with that. But let's go back over here. Let's talk about some of the filtration options. So you saw this, we saw us fill this with a pitcher system. Brian, if you want to grab the closest to you, the pitcher over there, and we'll talk about that. So this is a BWT, this is their newest version. They used to have the Penguin, they've renamed it to the Aqualizer, uses the exact same filter in here, and it does a calcium to magnesium ion exchange because you do want some minerals in your water. You just don't want the minerals that are going to cause scale, and that's the calcium.
Yeah.
So, if you're looking at different options, a lot of people ask me in the comments about like Brita filters, and I'm not aware of any Brita filters that really that have this technology. In fact, that calcium to magnesium is patented by BWT, and they've done a lot of taste testing, and the magnesium is as good an extractor as calcium, but doesn't have the scaling potential. So if you use something like this as directed, you're never going to have scale in your machine. So you won't have to descale it.
Yeah.
Just so we know, the old version of the pitcher was called the Penguin. Again, it does the same thing, just a different form factor here is all. Exact same filter cartridge in here.
Yep.
And then we've got another BWT option, and you're familiar with this one, right? The Best Save pad filters.
Pads, yeah.
So
Good little option there.
These use the exact same technology, calcium to magnesium. Oh, and by the way, both of these options, and the next one we'll look at, also have activated carbon in them to remove chlorination. So this would just drop in to the reservoir. But there's one thing you should know: if you're going through more than a reservoir full of water a day, this might not be the best option for you because it does take 8 to 12 hours. So you'd want to like fill your machine, the day before or night before, before you actually use it. So if you're going through making a lot of coffees or taking a lot of water out of the machine, look at maybe the pitcher or the next option we have, which is the Best Cup system. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So this it's going to come with a little adapter. You get this once, and then this is just going to go onto the nipple in the reservoir.
Yep.
Right? And then the filter, the business end of this is this guy, which I'll let you snap that together, huh? Just pops on there. So this filters water on demand. So it just lives in the filter. It lives right in the reservoir here. But you put that tube onto the nipple inside the reservoir, and it filters on demand water, so you can go through a lot more water with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Don't have to wait if you're trying to get shot for shot.
Yeah. So some other accessories we might think about. This machine is going to come now with a bottomless and a double spouted portafilter. So you get this, and you get a bottomless, and then you can put whatever filter basket you want into those. I love the bottomless portafilters for the beauty of them, right?
Yeah.
And also they're really good. They can help you train. Like if you're deficient in your puck prep, you can see where it's channeling through the puck, right?
Yeah. The bottomless are a great tool. They can be one of the most frustrating tools for people who have never used one before because it really showcases any channeling that you might have. I never realized how much channeling I had in my shots until I started using a bottomless, and then I went out and bought some of the cheater tools. And that's okay.
You fixed everything, right?
Exactly, yeah.
One nice thing with a bottomless is generally you can put just about any size filter basket in there. Let me see, this one is, this is a triple shot. So this is a 22 gram Barista Pro. and fits in there no problem. You know, every once in a while you're going to run into like really, I'm just curious to see if this 22 gram will fit in the double. Let's see. Oh, and that's a little trick we like to show folks is how to get these out of here. There is a tool for that as well. And see, that 22 will not fit in there.
No.
If you can see that, there's a little raise here. So if you're, in fact, if we go to try, I see that's as far as it's going to go. Oh, let's talk about clocking in too, right?
Yeah. So right now we're not going to clock in at all, right?
Because that basket's sticking up a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of a good rule of thumb, not just with this machine, but the 22 is generally too deep for a lot of portafilters.
But
so.
in the bottomless, no problem.
Yeah.
And we're clocking in good here. Now, every once in a while, you're going to get a machine that the group gasket, which is up in here, is brand new and has been broken in, so you might not clock all the way into 6, and that's okay.
And this is, you know, if you were looking straight overhead, it's not true 6. It's off by a little bit.
Yeah.
But really pushing it, you can get it over further. I don't recommend cranking it over.
Yeah.
You'll premature break in.
It's going to wear out the gasket faster.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're first letting the machine, well, did we do that? We have this sitting in there?
No. So we should talk about, you know, where your portafilter should be.
Yeah, when you're first letting your machine heat up, you want to keep your portafilter in there. I can speak today, I promise.
It's a Monday.
The idea is that the heat is going to transfer through the group head into the portafilter, and you want that portafilter to also be nice and hot. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of temperature right at the coffee bed. So it's important to make sure that you've left it on there. When you're leaving it on there for just heating up, just until it's snug enough that it's not going to fall over when, you know, kids or the dogs are running through the kitchen or something like that is good. You don't need to crank it on really hard. I actually suggest not cranking on really hard because, again, you can premature break it in and have to replace it sooner.
So we'll go through the PID setup over on this machine. You know, and I'll mention if you have any questions, we got Brian back there. Brian, how you doing, buddy? There he is. He'll get those questions out to us if you're watching the live stream here. But let's take a look. So right now, what are we seeing?
Right now we are seeing the set temperature of what we call the service boiler. So the main, being a heat exchanger machine, there's just one boiler, and there's a tube running through that boiler that the brew water is passively heated by.
Right.
So this temperature is showing us what the temperature inside that service or steam boiler actually is. So if you wanted to change that, all you have to do is press the plus and minus button together there, and you'll see your T1. Everything moves very quickly in here, so you got to move.
You have to move
quick
kind of
with
quick.
it.
Yeah.
Yep. If you ever hit the wrong thing, you just wait a second, and it'll go back. Just go right back into it. So T1, we can just turn up our temperature if we want. We can turn it down if we want. Be mindful when you're changing this is that you can go down too far. You can make it go down so low that it's actually below boiling point.
Right.
You don't want to do that. I can't think of any applicable reason for doing that.
Right.
So I typically keep it up at least 245 to 255.
Yeah, that's right. I happen to know there'll be a chart, I believe, in the manual that tell you what the relationship is between the boiler temperature and your expected temperature at the group.
Yep, exactly.
And I think, you know, 251 is right around 200 to 201. I think, yeah, more like 201, which is where I like to brew the crema wave we were using, so that's why we were set there. I think also understand that as you change the temperature in the boiler, you're changing the steam pressure that's available, right?
Exactly, yep.
Okay. So we got a couple other functions on here. Let's take a look at those.
All right. So if we're pressing the minus is how we scroll through the different options on here. So we start out on T1, that's the temperature, and we have eco, so we can turn it off or have a time for how long the machine will sit idle before it goes into that eco mode. So I can go up.
It goes out to 600. I think
600?
it's 10 hours, so
Okay.
it's minutes in 30-minute increments.
So let's shut it off for now. Next is our degrees as either Fahrenheit or Celsius.
So there's an outside chance sometimes every once in a while a machine might be set to Celsius, so if you want it in Fahrenheit or if you want to go, you know, to Celsius, you can change that, right?
Yep. Hang them back in. Oh, that was it.
Yeah, so those are the only options. We've been doing a lot of dual boilers, which have a couple more options on there.
Yep.
But really simple to operate and just set your temperature there. And like I say, you know, in that 250, 251 is good for usually a medium roast.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, this machine, they worked a lot. I know back in the development of this machine, and it's been one of my favorite heat exchange boiler machines for a long time, just the build quality. That they worked a lot with the flow restrictors on this to really, get the temperatures right.
Yeah.
But like I said, also, if it's, and too, if it's been sitting there for an hour unused, you may just want to make a little check because they do tend to rise in heat a little bit. But the sweet spot is, right in that 25 to 35 minutes after you turn it on is when it's going to probably pretty much nail the temperatures.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I think we pretty well covered. Let's make a check for any questions, Brian.
Sure thing. Peter was curious, between the Pro 500 and the Pro 400, does the 500 have more capacity and more precise control over the temperature than the Pro 400?
Well, so the Pro 400 has like a 3-position switch underneath it, which basically you're selecting kind of temperature ranges. So I've worked a lot with the Pro 400 too. Go figure. So when that switch is the 3-position switch, when it's pushed to the front, so front in, it's kind of like right under here. That's going to be for your darker roast coffees. You go to the middle position, that's for your lighter roast, and it's going to be a higher temperature. So it's going to be up in the low 200s Fahrenheit. And then you go to the back, you can go much higher if you want a little extra steaming power in it. And you actually hit that switch to the back, and you can watch the steam pressure just kind of rise.
Yeah.
So the 500 will be more precise.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, you can achieve basically the same thing off of the 500 as you can off 400. It's just you're doing it manually by going in and fine-tuning what temperature you want. Whereas on the 400, it's just easy to go dink, 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 one of 3 positions. Yeah. But you can get a better in-between and fine-tune it better through a PID.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, we do. Colby, and not really a Pro 500 question per se, but when grinding beans, once you get the size of the grounds dialed in for the machine, do you have to adjust the size when you swap out for different beans?
Great question.
You want to take this one?
Yeah. Yes. Generally speaking, yes. I mean, you might luck out and get 2 different beans that actually are perfect, same grind size. But you can also get the exact same bean. I could grab this Crema Wave and grind it all day like this. I could grab that bag right there that may have been roasted 2 weeks earlier or 2 weeks later, and that's going to make a difference. I'm going to have to grind it different based on how fresh the roast date is.
Yeah, and I think that's, my line is always grind size is never set and forget.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people do kind of do that and don't understand. I mean, I overhear some of the CoffeeCasts where people are looking for some help, getting a really nice shot. And I think the grind size is perhaps the most misunderstood. And that's why we weigh things and use a scale so that we can be very consistent, because that's something, if you're new to espresso, you're going to hear consistency is key. And it is really easy to do it, be consistent with the right tools.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I always say that one of the most important tools that you'll ever have in your coffee shop, or your home coffee shop, is a scale. And it doesn't have to be a extremely expensive, all the bells and whistles scale. You can grab, a $10 scale off Amazon, as long as it's going to tell you something certain. You gotta know you can trust it, I guess. But
I mean, I'm going to say I like good tools, right?
Absolutely. I have
but
3 Akai scales.
3 Akai, yes, that's the Akai right there. Which is designed precisely for this purpose. Has a lot of other functions we haven't touched, like timing and all that can really help you out.
Yeah. So
check that out. Anything else, Brian?
Yeah. Once again, not really a 500 question, but a valid question to what we were covering. Is the new BWT jug larger than the Penguin?
I don't believe so. I don't have the exact capacity. It kind of looks at it. It's going to be fairly similar, I think. There they are, because you see it's a 2-compartment setup. So you put the water in the top and the alkalizer here, and then it goes through the filter and then would, reach equilibrium here, if you will. So it kind of filters at a time. So I think it's about the same size. I'm sure, we can come up with that stat. If you leave us a question in the comments, we can tell you what the size difference is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more?
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming in hot and heavy.
Yeah. Once again, not really a 500 question per se, but Alexander wanted to know: can you burn your coffee if you rest it in the portafilter before pulling your shot?
Are we talking burn, set it on fire, or are we talking just let it roast a little bit further?
This reminds me of the argument because we just put up our Christmas tree and we have those old school lights, right?
Oh.
And my wife's like, won't that light the tree on fire? And then I saw this episode of Mythbusters a long time ago where they took the driest tree they could find and wrapped it in all those old school incandescent lamps. And you know what? They don't get hot enough to actually ignite anything. So lighting your coffee on fire, no.
Yeah.
Would I leave a coffee full of or a portafilter full of coffee in there for more than a couple minutes? Probably not.
Yeah, no, it's Mythbusted. It's not gonna set it on fire. Is it hot enough to change the roast level? I guess would be the more reasonable question of it. Is no. No.
But start causing aromatics to evaporate, maybe?
Yeah.
Or
It could start the extraction progress system. Words. The process. Thank you, Brian. So it could affect the off gassing of it a bit. So there are some variables that it could change. So I wouldn't recommend leaving it on there for a long period of time, but if you leave it there for 30 seconds or so, I don't see it really, unless you have a very, very refined palate.
You'd probably be hard pressed to really taste it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay.
Yeah, and just as a side note, because I'm going to take a moment to answer this question too. If you've already tamped it, the longer it sits before you start brewing, it's going to expand, and your shot's going to be really fast. Because it loses its compression. So that's something that once you tamp it, you really should pull it like almost immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I always do. I guess. I mean, there's no reason to unless you're distracted or something, right?
I think the practical end of the question is that if you prep your puck and then you start steaming and you start your brew while you're steaming, just to kind of keep everything. Yeah. In a shorter time span. Yeah. That's about the most common time I think that I ever leave my ground sitting for a while.
Right. Anything else?
Does the Profitec Pro 500 come with sprung valves?
Sprung valves.
You get sprung.
I know we've got some videos showing how to service these guys.
So, yes. So they have the springs inside them. You got a good angle on that, Bri? So you'll see how this is completely shut. Air quotes, okay? Yeah. But see how I don't have anything coming out yet. That's because the spring's resting against it, so it's still shut. So you only need to open it a little bit. And that's the sprung valve. That's how those operate. Yeah. So yes, they do.
It's not your power physically cranking the washer into the valve seat, or
right, like the quick steam valves where you're actually pushing against a spring.
Yeah, so it's much gentler on that, so it's going to last longer than if you were doing your physical power was actually pushing that together to stop the flow.
Yep.
All right, looks like maybe some more. Oh, here we go.
Could you cover real quick the procedures that you would go through? Daniel's asking for if you were to move and to take this one and move it to a different location. What would you want to do before you did that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for draining a machine, if you're going to ship it or just even pack it up to move, if you're moving across town or anything like that, obviously beneficial to have it empty, so it's lighter. It's also a good idea because we all know how moves go. You're not going to set everything up right away. Having it drained gets any of the minerals that are in the water, because we talk about not having calcium in there is fantastic.
Right.
We are always going to have some mineral content in there, and as the machine sits, all of those can settle to the bottom. They settle down. They can cause some kind of blockage. So it's a good idea to drain out as much water as you can. What I always tell people, because this question comes up a lot actually, is do a backflush of your machine and drain it. We do have a video on draining this machine and
Yeah.
Most of them,
Most of them.
in our support library. For heat exchange machines, it's just as simple as let
it
it be
up.
like now. It's heated up, turn it off, open up your hot water tap, and let it drain out. You're still going to have a little bit of water in there, but you got most of it out, so that's
Yeah.
about what you need.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll just add to that, like if you're only ever making an espresso and you rarely take water off of the machine through here, it's something, you know, like every few days, take a cup or two at least out of there.
I'll
turn
point to
over.
that because this is a big one that I tell people, and it's called a boiler refresh, because I'm one of those people that I push against having to descale a machine. You should always use the right water, thank you BWT, and flush your boiler. That's your refresh. You're draining everything out and letting it refill, and that's just like I said here, just open up the tap and let it go. And it's something you may not think to do. Americano drinkers probably don't need to do it all
no
that
problem.
often because you do it all the time. But if you don't find yourself opening that tap ever, work it into your regular cleaning schedule. If you have your cleaning schedule every 100 shots or whatever, just drain the boiler real quick. You'll go through a little bit more water, but in the long run, you're saving your machine a lot of heartache.
Oh, and real quick, we'll talk about backflushing because that's important too, right?
Yeah.
And it does come with a backflush disc, because we saw, you know, we stuck it under in its little holder over here.
Yep.
So how that works, and we've got the stuff over here that we generally use for that, the Cafiza.
Yep.
And a nice little tool for using that. This is something that we're in that, for actually using Cafiza to do a backflush on a machine, we're in that like, that 120-ish kind of brew cycles things. I know some people do it more, but that's the reason you don't maybe want to do it more. And there is, you know, plain water backflush, right?
Yep. Yeah. I plain water backflush more often than I do a backflush with chemical. I overdo it, quote unquote. I don't expect people to be like me. I water backflush after every day that I've used it. Just because that's the way I am. If you do it once a week, you're doing better than a lot of people. But yeah, I like stick to some kind of schedule when it comes to using the actual chemicals. So you know, we got the Cafiza here, we got the scoop. Just one little scoop right inside that basket there.
And for most people, this is going to be enough for a year or more. Or
I have one of these at home that I've had for over a year, and I backflush. I have too many machines at home.
Yeah.
So I for all of mine, for friends' machines that I've fixed and things like that, and it lasts a long time.
Right.
So.
But you can't overdo it with this, so that's why, you know,
Yeah.
more isn't better.
Exactly. Yeah. You're better off using a little bit on the light side. Like I just did a single scoop. I think it says to do 2 scoops. I forgot. It's been a while since I actually read it, but
Yeah.
so I'll just do the single scoop. And the best way to tell if you need to do more is if you're not seeing a big of a difference. So I follow the 10-10-10-10-10 rule, where lift the lever, let it run for 10 seconds, and then what I do is I'll let it sit for a minute, not a full minute. Okay. Don't take me literally.
10 seconds?
10 seconds in the middle position. So we're not dumping anything out, and we're just letting the Cafiza actually just break down
do its
and mix
thing.
up in there first.
Yep.
Then I'll run it for the 10 seconds, and then I'll
Then
drop it.
exhaust.
And that's how you'll see it's a little bit more foamy on that first shot than if you didn't let it sit for that 10 seconds.
Right.
And then you're just going to continue that, you know, run it for 10 seconds, and from this point on, you can drop it after that. And you see how much we got just off that.
So a little goo coming out of there.
Yeah. Yep.
And the problem with overdoing really is just stripping the oils out of some lubricated parts within the group here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you use too much Cafiza or you backflush with Cafiza too often, you're going to start stripping off most of the lubrication in there. You're going to get a squeaky group. It's going to be hard to move. It's going to feel choppy. If it gets to that point, backflush with just water first. See if that helps it out. If it still feels squeaky, choppy, whatever, at that point, you're definitely going to want to open it up and just do a quick lubrication of it so you're not doing any damage.
And you've got a great video on that.
I
You
do.
a full rebuild of the E61.
If you want to learn entirely too much about the E61, check it out.
So in the backflushing, you do that, you repeat that like 6 to 10 times?
Yeah, use what's coming out of the bottom of the group as your gauge, basically. Once it starts coming out less dark and more white or watery, at that point, then you can take basket out, rinse it off real quick.
Turn up your flow so you rinse faster.
Yep.
Make sure
10 times
it back
speed.
to stock.
Then do the exact same thing as we did with the Cafeza in there, just with water only. And that's just where we're going to be rinsing everything out.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
All right, anything else, Brian?
Yeah, just sort of a thought to give. Who was it? Geez, I've been getting a lot of comments, so I got to go back up and find it. So someone was wanting to know, do you have any sort of suggestions for a recipe for using the Pro 500 with the Lavazza Super Crema?
So that's, yeah, I can go on that. I mean, Super Crema, I would generally do it at that 1 to 2, and then see what you feel the taste is like. You can always change that a bit. Temperature-wise, I'd go maybe just a little bit cooler than what we were using for that. Maybe 249, 248.
Yeah, a little bit cooler and maybe a smidge longer. Keep it closer to that 30-second extraction. In my experience and opinion, Lavazza has a much more rich and creamy profile once you hit that 30-second mark.
Yeah. I found that with their top class. We had some Lavazza top class years ago, and it seemed a little better, a little longer. You know? Not crazy long, but just a little extra. So slow it down a bit.
Yep.
Anything else?
Yes, actually.
Oh my gosh.
We've got so many great questions. Peter wanted to know, general E61 question, what is the intermediate lever position for?
What is it for?
Depends on the machine a little bit.
This, I'm assuming we mean this position right here. All that is well, it's a few things. All right, so on this machine, it's basically not going to be much of anything.
Yeah.
In general, on a plumbable machine that doesn't have a solenoid valve in the middle of the mix there, like on the Pro 700 and Synchronica, once you get to this position, just over that, but before you hit the pump, you achieve what's called line pressure pre-infusion. It's where you're eking open that top valve just a little bit and allowing the water to come through at line pressure. So that's like a gentle pre-infusion.
Yeah.
Not so necessary if you have the flow control device installed, but for just a how it's designed answer on it, all that is it's the space between the two valves. When it's down like this, you're pushing down on a valve that's in the lower portion of the group. When you have it all the way up, you're pushing up on a valve that's up inside the mushroom valve there.
Yeah. So that line pressure pre-infusion, I mean, you can accomplish almost essentially the same thing using the flow control with very small movements right at the start, just a little water in, or you could do those, pre-infuse and stop, or
the flow control definitely has made line pressure pre-infusion relatively obsolete. Because I mean, unless you're sitting there reaching behind your machine and adjusting your valve for your faucet to try to adjust the pressure through there, it's just an option, I guess. But
no, there's pressure regulators on plumb machines, so you can. You actually want one, to knock down the line pressure a little bit. But hope we got that. Anything else, Brian? How about 2 more? We're way over.
Okay, let's do 2 more. Maxime wanted to know, once the machine is up to temperature, how long should you wait before the E61 is fully heated?
So I did a video about this where we just taped a very accurate thermometer right to the group head to find out when an E61 actually reaches equilibrium. So the thermosiphon has completely heated the group up, and that was you know, that it's going to depend a little bit machine to machine, but it's in that 25 to 30-minute range when the temperature of the group head does not change at all. You know, I saw a straight line, you know, taking a temperature of that group head minute by minute by minute. You know, whereas before we saw a little bit of a wave up, I would say, if you're looking at a graph of it, because the thermosyphon would, you know, spit some water out in there, get things warmed up, then slow down a little bit as it cooled the water, and so yeah, 25 to 30 is right about where it hits the sweet spot. All right, got one more?
Of course I do.
Yeah, of course you do.
So this is a really good one, actually. I think this is, so we have another gentleman here. Well, not gentleman, I don't want to pursue anything, I apologize. Someone who ran distilled water through their Profitec Pro 500 for several months. What do they need to do other than just switch to better water? Is there anything else that they need to do to get things back to where they should be?
I'll just say, I understand that's well-intentioned, right? You don't want to cause scale if there's no minerals in the water. If it's perfectly pure water with no minerals, you're not going to get scale, but you could get some corrosion. But unlikely, I think, at that time frame.
I was actually just working with a customer a week or so ago about this exact question. They ran their machine for, I think it was 3 months on RO water. It was causing the machine to actually overfill.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it wasn't to the point where it was blowing off the safety all the time, but it was enough that they were getting water, like a lot of water, out of their steam wand. So they're getting really watery steaming, the bad, really bad steaming profiles.
And the technical reason that happens, right?
Yeah, is because it
overfills.
It overfills. There's without the mineral content in the water, the conductive circuit inside the boiler doesn't register that there's actually water in there. That's why it goes up higher.
So that brings me back. I want to do a little callback here to a video we did. I think you were with me a few days ago when somebody asked, what does a conductivity need to be in order to do that? And I did look it up. We made a joke around here talking about how many microsiemens it was, because I think that's actually, it's measured, this conductivity, microsiemens. But what we did find out is they like 4 degrees of hardness to make sure that the water level probe works, which, if you want to transfer that to parts per million, I believe the formula is times 17.
Yeah.
So if you had a part per million, it's 4 times 17 was 40, 64. I think I hit that math.
All right, you're asking someone who's bad at math in their head. So
no, a little 68 parts per million, I think, right? 40 and then 28. Yeah, 68 parts per million is what Profitec and ECM recommend so that your water sensors will work. And if you're taking all the calcium out, replacing with some magnesium, you'll still have plenty of level.
Yeah, and it's funny the way that it's worded in the manuals. And you know, I know everyone here that gets a Profitec ECM machine is definitely going to read their manuals. Yeah. It specifically says just that, 4 degrees of hardness, and it's not like a range. And we get questions about that. Well, what's the range? Like, get as close to that number as you can, because that's where the machine's going to be the most efficient.
I'm guessing it would probably work at 3, but they just don't want people saying, "Hey, I went," you know, because you're not measuring it quite right.
The lower you go, the more you're going to run into an issue where you can have the machine overflowing, and the higher you go, you start having buildup inside the machine. So, but just to make sure we close the loop on that conversation about RO in the machine, though, what Mark said as far as it can cause corrosion, prolonged use of RO or distilled straight, not remineralized water is not good for the machine. It can cause premature wear of the seals. Specifically, the springs are something. I was just helping someone just the other day with this, where their recoil or non-return valve, both of them in one of their machines went bad because they were using straight RO water, and it basically it just kind of weakened the springs inside that recoil valve. So after 3 months, I wouldn't suspect a huge issue. I definitely just recommend making sure you flush it real good and then reintroducing the properly remineralized water.
Yeah, I mean, water's a universal solvent. When you take everything out of it, it gets aggressive
Yeah.
and really wants to pull ions out of things. So we don't want to pull the ions.
No.
No, okay. All right, well, okay, you got one. You must be a good one, Brian.
It's not a question. I
Oh.
just wanted to say that our good friend John Hopkins, who has been on a lot of these streams,
Oh, hi, John.
he wanted to say that he just got done watching the E61 rebuild video and that he thought it was excellent.
Awesome.
There you go.
Thank you.
There you go. Yeah, we do put a lot of effort into that kind of stuff so that, you know, you keep your stuff working great, running great, and making great coffee, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, well, listen, Brian, thanks so much for being here and taking us through the setup of the 500. Guys, if you have any questions, we do keep an eye on those comments, even after we're not live here. And we will try and get you an answer, or you can, you know, get a CoffeeCast. Maybe you'll show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might show up to that. I might learn some latte art and do better next time for you guys.
All right, and other Brian back there, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.
So many Brians. Thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll see you back here soon for more of the best on everything coffee, brought to you by Whole Latte Love.